Alright, so here's my brief demo of how to create the line drawings that you see in the example slides. What you need is a piece of white computer paper. Don't use lined notebook paper. You need a pencil with an eraser, and you need a black ballpoint pen. You can use a kind of a felt tip one or a gel pen. If you're going to use a Crayola marker, what I found is this kind of fat one is a little bit too wide of a tip to get the detail that I want. If you have a fine point one, that could work. But I would say a gel pen or a ballpoint pen that's black would be your best bet. You may end up wanting some tape too when we get further along, and a window.
So on my screen here, you can see a picture of this cardinal. This is by no means a really quality image that I would use for a photo assignment, but it's actually, we've got a little bird feeder right out our window, and I just took a picture. But it works fine because I'm just tracing parts of the image. I actually have two different ones that I'm combining, and I pulled it up in my Google Drive. I was able to share it from my phone to my Google Drive, just saving it to my Google Drive, and then I enlarged it. So what I basically did was I turned up the brightness on my Chromebook and placed the paper on the ledge. You can also use Scotch tape to tape it wherever you need to, but you can also, kind of zoom in or out to determine how big you want that image to be. You can also then, so you can see the bird showing through the paper there, decide if you want it to be in different places. So here's what I kind of came up with. If you can see this, it's very light. It's not in the center of the page, but I'll be able to work with that later. And now I'm going to go ahead and start to map out the lines. This was lightly done on pencil, with pencil on the paper, and then we're going to go from here. One other quick note is that if you finish tracing it, you might want to look over and just kind of refine some areas. You can change them. You don't have to keep it exactly to how you traced it. Sometimes you might not be able to see all the details very well. So clean up your design. Just make sure you're doing the light line work so that you can erase it after you go over it with the marker. Alright, so now I want to try a new version of the bird. The first ones that I did were very basic. So what I did was I actually taped it to the window. The original one with the marker over it is taped on first, and then I taped a blank piece, and you can see you can trace that really easily. You've probably done that before. So now I'm just going to look at the ones that I've done and trace over them lightly again. Alright, so here you can see this is the start of my stylized version. I've got these kind of lines that circle around and are kind of curly. I try to make my lines flow almost like if you're using the pencil and you want it to be a nice smooth curve. And I've just decided to use a black pen, and hopefully I can hold it still here long enough. The bottom side I'm going to make a little bit thicker. One tip is to don't erase it as soon as you're done, because it might smear the ink. So after you finish drawing your pen on there, try to give it a second to dry. And I'm just kind of making this line thicker, and my end point is going to be thin, but then it's going to get thicker, so it gives it some variety there. Bottom side of this wing, and I turn my paper too, so, whatever is the most natural way to draw. And then eventually I'm going to erase this line, the pencil line. One of the things I wanted to show you real quick is the way that my pen lines don't exactly follow the pencil lines that I did when I traced it on the window. They're a little bit more intentional, the curves are a little bit smoother, and the lines have different line thickness to them. So I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to erase these lines. I'm going to take a picture, and then I'm going to keep going.
So here's what I did after I erased it. I cleaned up a little of the lines even beyond that. And then you can see that after I took that photograph, so if I liked that I could use it, but then after I took that photograph, I did some additional embellishments to add some shading, basically by using lines. Those are going to work just fine when I put them into Pixlr. I then tried taking a picture with the flash, and it created this interesting vignette. So we'll see how these work when we move them into editing.